Hey, what's up, everybody? Hey. So, we have a little shift. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world. So, we have a little shift. Oh, let me get my microphone over here so you can really hear me. My desk is a mess. Anyway, what's up, everybody? So, tonight was supposed to be a reunion kind of reflection, behind the scenes, beyond the stage for my IQONIK Talks conference that we had last year. But schedules be scheduling and life and be life be life. So we have got to shift a little bit away from that. We're not going to do that tonight. We are going to, but I'm still going to be here live with you. So I'm still going to talk a little bit about IQONIK Talks, but I just wanted to let you know that my clients won't be on today. We're going to figure it out and get that done. But thank you for those of you who are tuning in. And for those of you who don't know what IQONIK Talks is and why I wanted to do this live is IQONIK Talks is a virtual leadership conference that I had the vision for last year, that I produced, I hosted, and it went off without a hitch, actually, in March of last year, March 26th to be exact. So that was our 1-year anniversary. And the idea came to me because I was working with 7 amazing women in my Thought Leader Circle program. And one of the things that we were going to work on was their signature talks. And I thought, well, what if we just put those talks together and not just have the talk sit there, but actually have them put their talks together and get on stage? And so that's what we did. We took 4 months of our program. So the program was a year. We took 4 months of that program to work on their talks, to do all the rehearsals, to do everything, and then put them on stage in March of last year. And somewhere on my timeline, on my feed, you'll see there's a video, like a video clip of kind of, just a wrap up of that. But I really wanted to have a conversation with them around the entire process so we can show you like what it really takes, one, to put together a talk that is valuable, a talk that can be sold, a talk that can be leveraged in so many different ways, not just to be on stage as a keynote presentation. And also what they have done since then, because they have done amazing things. So I don't want to give that away. I would love for them to be able to talk about that on their own. So we are going to figure this out and get them back. But I didn't want to waste the live and not come on and share some stuff with you. So I was trying to think about what it is that we could, what could I share with you? And there are a couple things. One, you see scrolling across the screen, my Authority Elevator. That is a free masterclass that is coming up. Make sure that you jump on that, right? authorityelevator.com. It's going to be 90-minute, maybe close, 90 minutes to 2 hours masterclass. And we're going to talk about my Authority Elevator framework, which is messaging, marketing, and monetization. Those 3 things, the bucket of 3 things is essential for you to have if you want to take your expertise, and as we say on the Speaking of Speaking podcast, to cash flow what you know. It's so important for you to understand that so much of what we do as speakers and experts is behind the scenes, right? Probably 95% of what we do is behind the scenes. And so that whole idea about understanding what it takes to, have the right message and get that message out there and to market it so that you can monetize, those are the things we're going to be talking about in the upcoming Authority Elevator Masterclass. So I want you to jump on there, go to authorityelevator.com, register, make sure you put it on your calendar, and make sure that you have your face in the place. But the other thing I want to talk to you about today is I've been having all these conversations with colleagues, with friends around what is happening in this world and how that's impacting us as entrepreneurs. And not just as entrepreneurs, in our businesses, but really, how is it affecting us mentally? How is it affecting us emotionally? Because so many of us are high achievers. We have accomplished so many things, and anything that we've put our mind to, we have been able to do well. And for those of us who came into this era of entrepreneurship right before the pandemic and were able to still thrive based on our expertise and based on what we were doing, a lot of us in that space who were in that quote unquote DEI space, whether you were doing, full on DEI or you're doing anti racism, or like me, you were doing unconscious bias training. Listen, the work was just flowing. Our phones are ringing off the hook. We had more work than we could even imagine, right? And that fed us for a few years in our business. And I'm sure, you're probably feeling it, and you've heard people talk about how last year in 2024 people felt like they were just kicked, right? Kicked to the ground, and 2025 doesn't seem to be letting up either. And the conversations that I've been having is really with, people who are so smart, so brilliant, have so much to offer, and wondering whether or not they are going to be able to survive what is happening. And I don't mean survive physically, I mean survive in terms of being able to stay in entrepreneurship, or are they going to have to shift and go back to work? And when I tell you that ain't something I want to do, it is not something that I want to do, and it's not something that they want to do either. But I do want to say this about that. We have to do what we have to do, right? And so if that means going back to work, going back to a traditional 9 to 5 role, I want you to understand that that means nothing about you. That has nothing, it doesn't say anything about you. It doesn't say that you're a failure. It doesn't say that you couldn't make it in entrepreneurship. It just means that in this moment, you might have to shift to make sure that you take care of your family, of your life, of your bills, especially if you don't have somebody um, who can support you, right? Wow, my hair's driving me nuts. Can support you while you are trying to figure it all out, or if you're the breadwinner of your family. And so, having these conversations, sometimes we can't have these conversations with everybody. Sometimes we feel that if we say these things out loud, and we're still trying to do entrepreneurship, that perhaps people will be like, well, they're not as good as they say they were, or why should I be listening to them? Oh, they're trying to get my money, but they're out here struggling. Listen, everybody struggles. I don't care, the richest people in the world, the people who we see, everybody has some type of struggle. And in this moment, many people are having just a shift. And some of it, if you think about people who are in the DI space, and Dr. Avis Joan DeWeaver has talked a lot about this in terms of people being in the DI space. Just because some people are trying to do away with it and get rid of it, doesn't mean that your business can't thrive and can't flourish, right? One of the things that we have to do in these moments when these things happen is think about, how do I shift? So if you think about when we had the pandemic, right? In March of 2020, we had the pandemic. So many speakers were tied to the fact that they were keynote speakers and that they had to be on stage. No, they had to be live, they had to be in person, they had to be on stage. What do you mean you want me to do virtual? What do you mean you want me to not be in person with people, and you want me to sit behind the screen and no, that's not who I am. I am a keynote speaker and I have to be on stage. Well, a lot of those people went by the wayside, right? They went blockbuster. You have to be Netflix. In these moments, you have to be Netflix, and you have to figure out what is next. And one of the things that you can do is really sit down and listen, leverage chat. That's my BFF, Chat GPT, or whatever AI you use. This is one of the things that I talked to one of my friends about yesterday. We were talking about, um, his journey and where he is on entrepreneurship. And I was saying to him, one of the things that you can do is take your resume, take all of your, all of because he has so much experience. Just take everything that you have, everything that you've done, everything that you've accomplished, and go to Chat GPT and say, hey, here's who I am, here's what I've done, here's my resume. Help me to understand what are the underlying skills that I used or that I have to be able to do these types of jobs. That way, what you can do then is look at those skill sets and understand how you can repackage those skill sets. So many, of you who do DEI work, there are a lot of skill sets that you have that are not necessarily that you have to focus on DEI. I know I'm not saying to give up on the work, but we've been doing this work for a long time. We've been doing this work for a long time before it had the E, the I, the A, the B, the J, and anything else. Right? We've been doing this work. And so we have to really understand what is it that we're trying to accomplish. So when I started speaking and I decided that I was going to do unconscious bias instead of full on like being I am a D&I expert, even though, I understand diversity, equity, inclusion. What I did was to look at what the work that I did as a lawyer. So I was a trial lawyer and employment lawyer, and I worked on cases around discrimination, retaliation, harassment, anything to do with employer employee issues. And one of the things that I realized was that, especially like when we would go to mediation, at mediation, the employees would often, and like more often than not, talk about the fact that they just felt like they hadn't been heard. They weren't able to get their voice out. They weren't able to speak, and that at the mediation was a space for them to be able to do that, right? To be able to have the employer's lawyer, who is me, like really hear them, right? Really listen to them. And what all of that taught me, and also just talking to HR people and talking to my clients and really assessing the whole situation. What it taught me was that in these spaces, we often forget each other's humanity. We often forget that the employee, right, is not just the title, is a person on the other side, that that person has a family, that that person has, feelings, right, that is a human being on the other end, not just not just the executive assistant or the, the janitor or the manager of production or whatever it is, whatever titles, people have. And so when I decided that I wanted to speak, what I wanted to speak about was the biases and the lack of humanity that was interfering with our ability to communicate with each other and to see each other and to value each other. And so I was able to take myself out of the bigger pool of diversity, equity, and inclusion and narrow it down to unconscious bias. Well, that also started to take a hit. And so what I started to look at is, okay, well, where else in that space, what else can I work on so that those who are offended by or, bothered by unconscious bias, whatever, that it would not impact my business, right? In a way that it could, like how we see that DEI is impacting businesses now. And so again, I started to look at what are the skill sets? What are the things that I've been doing? What is it that clients were hiring me to do? And during that time, clients were hiring me to do a lot of listening sessions. So it's all about, being able to hear people, to listen to people, to have conversations, to allow other people to have conversations, to allow other people to be heard. And so I started working, and that's how I wrote the first book. I don't know if you can see it back there, the little one back there on the second shelf, about courageous conversations and developing a framework, the perfect framework, I call it, for how we have these conversations. So, again, really looking at what are my skill sets? What are the things that I was doing? And what is it that clients were paying me for that wasn't the forward facing, right? It wasn't the unconscious bias name, but they were getting all of these things inside of what I was doing. And so I started training around courageous conversations, and I still do that. Again, though, I also started looking, right? So over the past year or so, or year and a half, I again started looking at not just what people were paying me for, but what is it that brings me joy? And thinking about what do I do really well? Like, what am I masterful at? And what is it that I can do out in the world that one will bring me joy, and two, create an impact, and three, and not necessarily in these order, this order, bring in income, right? And so one of the things that I know is that in terms of communication, I am excellent at communicating. I was a lawyer. I was I had taught. I was a mediator and an arbitrator, and all of those things. So the ability to communicate, the ability to facilitate dialogue, the ability to listen and analyze and synthesize information, the ability to reframe, all of those things are really my skill sets. And then when I think about now, who do you want to help in terms of doing those things? I think about me, right? I am my avatar, somebody who is extremely high achieving, who is educated, has a deep level of expertise, and understands that just because I had the title of lawyer doesn't mean that has to be my daily existence. So how could I leverage all of the things that I know? How can I cash flow what I know? And again, started thinking about that. So, and that started some years ago. And so that's how I started with thinking about, okay, how can I help other speakers? How can I help other thought leaders? How can I help other experts to really understand the power of their expertise? And that's how I started, mentoring, and then really moving into being a strategic advisor, because that's really my gift, right? Is to be to go work through strategy with you and advise you on how to do different things. The reason I'm explaining this way is because I want you to start thinking about what it is that you do, what is it that you have done, what brings you joy, what have you been doing, but maybe under another name. And in this moment, when we have to make some shifts and we have to pivot, probably unwillingly for many of us, but necessarily, how do we do that without losing our shirt? How do we do that without losing our mind? How do we do that without feeling that we are somehow less than, right? And so I want you to really start thinking about that and understand that change is necessary and change is inevitable. There's always going to be some type of change. And right now, some of us are in a season of really deep, frustrating um, change, right? And so think about what it is that you really want to do and what will bring you joy. Think about what it is that you need to do in order to keep your sanity and keep a roof over your head. And if it means that you have to go back to your 9 to 5, there are people that have been following on social media who've made millions, as we've been watching over these past few years, and they're back at work. Listen, do what you got to do. Do what you got to do. And it doesn't mean that you also still can't be an entrepreneur. Because if you're speaking or you're training or you're consulting or you're coaching, there's ways to do it. When I was practicing law, I started my business when I was practicing law. And if I had to take vacation to go speak, I would. If you're coaching, you can coach people in the evenings or you can coach them on the weekends. If you're consulting, maybe you take your vacation time, maybe you have a week of vacation, you take that time and you go do your consult. You could do things virtually. There's just so many ways. So going back to work is not the end all and be all. Now, I said at the beginning, I don't want to do it, right? I certainly do not want to have to go back to a 9 to 5, but I'm also not stupid. So if I had to do it, I would do it. So don't let that be a reflection of you, your abilities, or that you somehow failed. No, it just means that in this moment, we have to do something else. So, the conversations that I've been having, I feel bad sometimes for myself and for the people I'm having the conversations with, because we are really here thinking like, man, I have all the things. I have everything. I have all the things. And yet I still find myself in a struggle. And so this is one of the reasons that I am doing the authority elevator, because one of the things that we have to do now, especially we see that there are so many layoffs. People are losing their jobs left and right. And we're not talking about 10 people. We're talking about tens of thousands of people. And what does that mean? That means that the market is going to get even more saturated, right? So, whether it is entrepreneurship because people are losing their job and like, okay, well, I can't rely on anybody else, so I'm gonna be out here in entrepreneurship, or they have to find a job and now they're in the work for the pool, candidate pool, and now here you come back into the candidate pool. Whichever way, whether it's entrepreneurship or it is going back to be an employee, you got to stand out. You got to figure out the way that you are the person in the sea of people that they're like, no, yeah, you're the person. And so it's still about messaging, it's still about marketing, it's still about monetization. Those three pillars that I'm going to be talking about during the authority elevator. So again, whether you're in transition from employee to entrepreneur, or you're going to be in transition from entrepreneur back to employee, you should be there. You should come and understand how you're going to ensure that wherever you decide to be, and even if you decide to be in both places, that you have to understand how to message, how to market, and then how to monetize. And these are like non-negotiables. These are non-negotiables. And what I'm going to share with you is what I have learned, what I have done, and give you some frameworks and give you, really some proact not product not what's the word? My brain just went. My brain just went. You don't know what word you want to say. I am going to give you actionable things that you can do. That's the word I wanted to say. I want to give you actionable things that when you leave, that you can implement. So I am big on not just providing information, but providing the ability to then take that information and implement it right away. I'm also going to be making an offer. You know how these things go. All these master classes, whether you pay for them or you don't, at the end, I will make an offer and invite you to work with me actually to do implementation. Because one of the things that I learned over these several years in terms of entrepreneurship is that we are often in these spaces, myself included, where we're being told what to do. We're being told why we should do it. And we might be told how, right? So we're telling you how to do it. For example, you might go to a class and somebody says, oh, well, you need to, let's talk about speakers. You need to have a speaker website. Okay. So how do you do it? Well, you can build your speaker website on Canva, or you can build it on WordPress or Wix or any of the Go High Level or anything, right? You can do it anywhere, right? So how do you do it? You go to these websites and you set up the website, you set up the page, and you build it, right? So they're telling you how to do it. Now go do it. Hi. Like, you don't even know. Like, that's great. You told me this. People show you how to build, lead magnets. Oh, you need to build a lead magnet. So just go into Canva and, get one of the templates. And then you could just use the template. And then you'll have this lead magnet. And then you're going to put this lead magnet and send it out to your email list. email list. Wait, it's not it's not that simple, right? Because it's not just an email list. There are systems behind email lists, and how do you set up the email list so that you're not manually sending out this newsletter or lead magnet or whatever it is that you're doing. So often we get the information, they tell us kind of how, right, to do it, but unless you have the skill set to do it or you have the team to do it, you're not going to do it. So what I have been thinking about, and because this is a particular pet peeve of mine in terms of I like to see things get done, is how can I move you from information to implementation, and how can I support you in the implementation piece of it? We started this off with talking about that this was going to be about IQONIK Talks and the conference that I put on last year. And part of the reason that it was really successful is because I was there to help my clients actually implement and hold them to deadlines and keep them accountable, and so that we would have the product done, right? I could have easily have said, go do your signature talk and then come back and we'll do this conference. It wouldn't have done. We wouldn't have done it, right? And so sometimes it's not that you don't have the ability, you just don't have the container and the environment to do it, and you don't have the knowledge. And so one of the things you'll see is that I'm going to invite you all into doing these what I call implementation intensives, so that you're actually getting to do the work, so that when you spend time with me in that intensive, at the end of that day, you will have accomplished something. You will have built something. You will have a deliverable, whether it's actually done or, if you don't have all the systems yet, you'll know the systems and you'll know the steps that you need to do in order to go create the thing that we're creating in that intensive. And that's really important to me because I want to make sure that as we are in this cycle of whatever is going on and however long it's going to go on, that wherever we find ourselves, we have the ability to show up powerfully. We have the ability to elevate our authority and our influence, so that we are the ones that stand out in the crowd, so that we can create impact and also create income, right? That is what we are here to do. There's no shame. We all need to make money. We got to figure out how to do that. And so the intensives that I will introduce after we go through the training and authority elevator is my way of shifting, and also, right, because I have to shift too, shift the business, is my way of shifting, and is my way of really helping others to create the things that they need in order to have either a sustainable business or to go set themselves up to go back into um, into the world of employee, if you're leaving entrepreneurship. So authorityelevator.com is where you need to go to register, and our that it'll be 90 minutes, maybe 90 minutes to 2 hours, but count on 90 minutes, that you'll be there for 90 minutes, that we're going to go through the three pillars. So it'll be messaging, marketing, and monetization. When you go to authorityelevator.com, it will give you a little bit more detail about specifics about things that we will cover. But obviously talking about how to message, talking about, ways that you can monetize, all of those things. And also really talking about what are some of the mindset shifts that we have to make in this business, because this business, this knowledge-based economy, this place where you can cash flow what you know, is hard. It ain't easy, right? It is not easy. Being brilliant is the easy part. Having the knowledge is the easy part. Understanding how to put all of that together is a little bit, that's not as easy. And then how do we go out there and market it and really get people and attract people who want to pay us the value of our expertise, as opposed to, just like, oh, You can do it for exposure, and then hopefully you can get a client on the back end. Um, that's harder. That part is harder. And so what you need are systems, what you need are frameworks, what you need the tangible assets. You need the things you need the thing to sell, which is a signature talk or a signature presentation. And you also need the vehicles and the materials to be able to sell that stuff. And so that's what we're going to be talking about in Authority Elevator. And then the intensives will be the actual thing that helps you get the deliverables that you need. Some of them, right? Can't build your entire business with you, but I will be doing a significant number of different intensives so that you can get these deliverables and go out there and be amazing and brilliant wherever you are. Again, whether it's as an employee, whether it's as an entrepreneur, or whether it's in a hybrid situation. And again, I started this by talking about the fact that I don't want you all to, if you have to shift and you have to pivot, I don't want you to feel that all is lost, because it's not. Uh, we gonna make it. We are gonna make it. Um, so for me, the shifts that I'm making, so that you understand that I'm doing this too. So the shifts that I'm making, one is to focus on these types of implementation intensives where we get in, we do the work, we get out, no long drawn out, 8 week, 10 week, a year. Doesn't mean that I won't do that at some point, but right now I'm going to focus on these 1 day intensives. We get in, we get the work done, we get out, right? You have something when you leave, because a lot of you are like, well, what am I getting? Well, this is what you're going to get. Right. And that's a mindset thing too that we have to work on. But I get it, right? And especially now, like, what if I'm giving you my money and I'm giving you my time, what is the return on the investment and the experience that I'm going to have? So that's one thing that you're going to do. And probably if you come to the master class, if you come to this first master class, you're going to hear another big thing that I'm working on. So that'll be an announcement during the masterclass. The rest of you, because if you don't want to come in here and get all this good, the rest of you will hear it in a few weeks. But there's another big thing that I am working on, and what I've been doing is trying to lean into my gifts, lean into my experience and my expertise, lean into joy to really generate the life that I desire and deserve, the amount of income, right, that I desire and deserve. And it's scary, right? Especially the thing that I'm going to announce um, coming up is very scary. However, I have decided it's something that was dropped in my spirit when I was in Austin at South by Southwest. It just came to me, and I've decided that to be obedient. I've decided to be obedient and to lean into um, that vision, and lean back into trusting my gifts, trusting me, trusting my ability to execute on something. And so, yeah, and it's gonna be good, y'all. It's gonna be so good. If you are a speaker, trainer, coach, or consultant, baby, I am telling you, you are going to want to know about this thing. So if you want to be the first to know and want to be the first to be able to get access, then make sure that you are in the place, theauthorityelevator.com, for this first one. Make sure you are there, because this is our first one that we're doing in terms of this authority elevator. I've trained on these things before, but not how I'm going to do it in the authority elevator. So authorityelevator.com. Even if you can't make it, say you can't make it, go register. You'll get the replay. I'll do a limited replay, but go get the replay, because I'm telling you, not only is the information about the whole business of speaking and training and consulting and coaching gonna be good, the announcement And these intensives, when I tell you what they are, oh, that's going to be good. That's going to be good. Anyway, so I just wanted to make sure I was on live with you because I did promise that I would come on live, and I wanted to share with you some of the things that are, that happening and the conversations that I've been having, and just to let you know it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And if you need to rest, rest. The other thing that because I've had these conversations and also watching Senator Cory Booker the other day. See that book back there? Back there? The Art of Strategic Resistance. I wrote it. It's available on Amazon, but I wrote it because of the election and how I saw that my little young cousins, my female cousins, responded to it. And I was, talking about it a lot, and I've kind of put it on the back burner, but watching what's happening with people, what's happening with my friends, what's happening with me, what's happening out there in the world. One of the other things that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go live every day for a period of days. I haven't decided yet how many days, but I'm actually going to read the book. I'm going to go through the book and I'm going to talk about the book. I'm going to talk about the different pieces. So I'll go through probably like when I do it, it'll be like 10 to 15 minutes per day. So just, to give you a hit and to give you some hope and to give you some strategy about how to work through this. Because everybody keeps telling me I need to do the audio version of it. So it'll be a pseudo audio version, not the kind of audio version that people would normally do where they just read the book. I actually am going to read it and just, give like commentary because I wrote the book specifically without my commentary. I wrote it because I wanted you to read it and to interpret it in the way that you needed to so that you could implement the strategies that are in there in your own way around how to strategically resist. But when I do this series, I'll add a little color to it, add a little add a little flavor to it, and then eventually I'll probably package it and sell it. So again, some of these things too, just watch what I'm doing. A lot of times when I'm training and teaching, I'm also telling you to watch what I'm doing and see if it's something that you could emulate. Not saying it's the perfect thing to do. I'm not saying, I'm not guaranteeing what it's going to do for you, but I am showing you, right, what I'm doing. And if it's something that you feel like, oh, I could do that too, then do it. I don't own any of this. Do it. I own my frameworks now. I own my frameworks and I own my intellectual property. So don't take that. You can't steal that. But you see me doing lives, do lives. If you see that if you have a book, read it, right? So I'm going to do that. I'm doing it for a number of reasons, and some of it is related to marketing, right? Because we talk about marketing, messaging, marketing, and monetization. So some of it is related to marketing, and some of it's also related to monetization. And so I will see you in the Authority Elevator. Go to authorityelevator.com. I cannot wait to see you. If you're somebody that I know, I would love to see you again. If you're new to me, I would absolutely love to see you. And I know I didn't introduce myself in the beginning, but y'all just go look at my bio or Google me, as they say. And next time I'll do better. Anyway, to introduce myself. All right, y'all. Have an amazing evening. I got work to do. That big idea that I told y'all about, that big vision, it's going to take a lot of work and it's going to take a lot of people to help me see it through. So I'm in for some long days and nights. But if y'all thought Iconic Talks was something, baby, you ain't seen nothing yet. All right, y'all. Have a great evening. Talk to you soon. And until next time, take care.